have said before that humans are technologically advanced yet somehow socially primitive. How is it possible that we possess this duality as a species? How is it that we can put rovers on Mars, a vehicle the size of a car on another planet, powered by solar power, put on another planet, 100 million miles away from Earth? We have Voyager 1, Voyager 2 in the outer edges of the solar system, and yet, somehow, we can't take care of ourselves as a species. We're constantly at war. We could develop an advanced transportation system, but we don't. For some reason, humans are okay with the fact that we can drive ass to ass, bumper to bumper down these clustered filled highways, going 5 miles an hour to try to get where you're going, and that's okay. And that might have been okay back in 1930s, but now there's so many cars on the road that it's become an inefficient clusterfuck of trying to get somewhere. It just doesn't work. It's not efficient. We could use monorails and other forms of transportation, maglev trains and stuff like they do in China, but that doesn't happen. It won't happen here. Because if that happened here, then the automotive industry wouldn't make their big money, now would they? Why did we put financial barriers up for education? Doesn't it make more sense to educate your children to the best of your ability? All of them? I mean, you look at it, it's not so much as charity as it is a future investment. You're investing in the future of children, in the future of the species. By giving children education that they need to be the best that they are capable of being, you are essentially making sure that future generations of people and the species in the future does better. We advance. We get better. Well, then if that's true, then why do we have a monetary barrier keeping some kids from accessing school and others not? Oh, because if you have enough money to pay for it, if your parents have enough money to pay for it, then you can have access to education. But if for some reason you do not have access to that money, then you have a block there preventing you from doing it. Or you get in a lot of debt and have to pay years trying to pay back a debt. So why do we have that? Why do we seemingly purposely make things harder than they actually need to be? Why is that? Why do we have what looks to be an advanced technological civilization, but underneath, if you wipe away all of that, you have a primitive barbaric society that's underneath that kind of pretends and dresses itself up like some sort of advanced society when it's actually not? Over the years, I have come to believe that the people that invent those kinds of technologies, the ones who they come together and invent the space probes and the advanced technology and the invention of the automobile and all those kinds of things, I do believe, another example, the Leonardo da Vinci's of the past. I do believe that those people must be the exception to the rule. They are somehow the outliers. They're not actually a representation of humanity as a whole. People like Nikola Tesla literally changed the world with their inventions. I do believe that those people are just the exception. They're not actually a reflection of the way humans are. That makes more sense, and it kind of explains the duality of humans. That we don't really have that duality. For the most part, humans are actually just dumb monkeys that are just doing whatever, and that explains the war and the constant barbarism that our society has, and this illusion of civility that kind of blankets everything. It looks like it's advanced. It looks like we know we got our shit together. And if you were just flying by this planet and you were to just look on the surface of the earth and you see all those big cities and all the lights and all the technology, you go, wow, That's an advanced species. They really got their shit together. They got like billions of them, and they're doing good, and they have all these houses, and they have airplanes flying in the sky, and they have this advanced technology. They must be doing really good. But when you get down here in the stuff, when you get down here on the ground, most of us are living in hell. Like, it's a constant struggle every freaking day. So the happiness of the individual is just shit. But from a distance, if you look at it as a whole, it looks like everything's okay. And it's not. And that's what I like to call the illusion of civility. It looks like everything is okay, but underneath, it's barbarism. It's absolutely bloodthirsty barbarism. I mean, while I'm saying this right now, there's a literal genocide going on. And there's also other wars all over the place, too. There's homelessness and hungry kids in the richest country in the freaking world. And that's not a problem. We could have easily dealt with that. But we don't have health care in the so-called richest country of the world. We don't have that. If you get sick, it's your problem. It's just your ass if you don't have money. In the so-called richest, most advanced country in the world. So how in the hell do we live in a world that has all these advanced technologies? Like, you can get on your phone right now and call someone in another country and talk to them. Like, what? What? Try explaining that to someone from the 12th century. Like, really? They would think it was magic. It was godlike powers. So how can you have a world this advanced, but yet underneath we're still we're just barbarians. Everyone out for themselves. Fuck you if you can't make it. Screw you, whatever. You either make it or you don't. If you don't, screw. Just fuck you. Whatever happens to you, happens to you. We live in that world. When people see homeless people on the street when they drive by in the car, they don't have empathy. They're not, oh man, that's terrible. I wonder what happened to that person to get them in that situation. What trauma did they have to go through? What horrible things that happened to them to get there? I wish there was a way to help them. Or maybe if they're too traumatized and too damaged from all the things they went through, maybe there's a way we could, that there's social workers. We should have that, right? We should have a support structure underneath that. And their sole purpose is to support people that have fallen through the cracks, that didn't work out, that something went terribly wrong. But we don't have that. We damn sure don't have it in America, and I don't know of too many other countries that have support networks like that. But yet we have the nerve to call ourselves an advanced species. We're not even close. If it's true that all of the technological advancements throughout human history and all of the scientists, those great scientists that gave us the technology that allowed us to create the world we live in today, is just the exception to the rule, then the rule must be we are just a bunch of brutal, savage, barbaric apes, and nothing's really changed. That underneath the surface, that's still what we are. We haven't grown out of that. And that would explain how, instead of using our technology to better humanity, to make ourselves better, we use it to screw each other over in a much more efficient way. Like the Industrial Revolution that happened, where we could mass produce goods and services at an incredible rate, should have been, I think there were people who actually wrote books about it back then, that would be the end of toil, that would be the end of the suffering of the common man, because now we have all these machines that could build things and produce things in mass productions and would allow humanity to be free from the constant toil and suffering and labor that people have had to undergo for the last couple of thousands of years. That we'd finally be free of it, that mankind would be able to, maybe the average person would only work just a few hours a day, and the machines would take over everything else. And that would be enough. That's all you would need to do is just work a couple hours a day and you're done. You can go home, you can be with your family, you can enjoy your life, and that would be good. Because of the level of efficiency that utilization of the Industrial Revolution and the technology would have allowed us to achieve. And yet here we are in the year 2025, and somehow people are working more than they have ever worked. Like ever. I think there was a report out that said something to the line of, medieval peasants do not work as much as modern humans do. It's constant. It's never stopping. From the morning you get up, all day long, toil, suffer, until you get home and go to bed, and then that's it. Go to sleep, maybe you have some time, and then you wake up the next morning and start the shit over again. I remember back when I worked in a manufacturing factory. Just a normal standard factory job. And I was doing a 12-hour shift. It was a 12-hour night shift. And I was so tired when I got home. I remember one night my legs were like numb because they don't let you sit down. You have to stand up the whole damn time. You can't just sit down. You have to stand up. I don't know why they do that. It's like, let's just make the job even more cruel for someone. You know, it wouldn't hurt to put a chair there or a stool or something to let people sit down and do the work. But no, you got to stand up on your feet the whole time. It's cruelty. There's just no other way to explain it. I think that they're somewhere along the line, their higher ups calculated like a 2% increase in production if you don't let people sit down. And that like 2% little increase is what makes people now everywhere have to stand up on factory jobs like that. You know, to hell with, you know, the health of the individual employee. To hell with what they have to go through. Oh no. Let them stand up. Let them stand up because we want that 2% increase in productivity. You know, who cares if they have like, you know, legs that have like fucking blood vessels bursting in their legs and all kinds of shit. Who cares? That 2% increase in productivity is enough. That's all we want. That little 2% increase. So to hell with them. And of course, unfortunately, factory jobs, the turnover is really high. So, you know, if you have medical problems that are so bad and you can't do it, they don't care. They'll just fire you and hire somebody else. So I think that's why they don't care. They just use you and use you and use you like a tool. And then once you're done, they'll throw you out the door and hire somebody else. So they don't care about your personal health at all. So anyway, I remember coming home so tired that I would just fall into bed fully clothed. I remember one night I didn't even take my shoes off. But most of the time I would just kick my shoes off and just fall into bed. Fully clothed, just so tired. And then get up like in the middle of the night so I could actually change and do whatever. It's insane. And there are lots of people who have to live like that every day. How is this a better world because of our technology? Because I don't see where it is. In regards to the current state of where humanity is in right now, a wise old friend of mine once said that humans are kind of like monkeys in a rocket ship. All this technology, but yet we're still incredibly primitive. And I agree with that. Our brains did not evolve for this. This is almost like information overload, too much stuff going on around us all the time. And our brains evolved to live in the jungle, like on the African plains, hunting like small animals and shit and trying not to be eaten by a lion. It's like, and that's what we evolved for. We didn't evolve for this world. So to be overwhelmed with all this advanced technology explains the duality. It explains that on the one hand, we have all this technology, we can put rovers on Mars, we can do all this stuff, And on the other hand, we are still very barbaric to each other and still butcher each other constantly. There's a reason behind that. And it's the fact that we are both monkey with a rocket ship. I mean, you got to realize this world we live in right now, even the 20th century, but the 21st century, all of this is an anomaly. This is the weird thing. This is an anomaly. This is the blip in the little radar. This is unusual. You got to understand, it was just 200 years ago, we were burning innocent women at the stake, accusing them of being witches. It wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago. We had people that were actual chattel slaves. Slavery still does exist in the world now. It just kind of rebranded. It's still slavery. It just rebranded, and now it's wage slavery. And it's in a lot of ways even worse than chattel slavery, because in wage slavery, the slave master is not responsible for the food, shelter, and all that of the slave. The health care and all that of the slave. All the slave has to do all of that with their wages. Whereas in the old days, when you actually had real slavery, chattel slavery, the slave owner was responsible for everything the slave went through. The health care, the food, feeding the slave, sheltering the slave, taking care of the slave, making sure the slave was able to do the work, whatever you assigned them to do. But in the modern world, the slaves are supposed to take care of themselves. And all you do is give them wages. And as a company or a business, your job is to give them the least amount of wages possible for you to make a profit. And that's the game. The game is all about screwing somebody else over. So we haven't changed. We're still the Roman Empire that still exists. We haven't changed. And we look back through history books and, look how much we've advanced. We're not slaughtering people in gladiator arenas anymore. We're not feeding people to lions. We're not doing all these horrible things. We've advanced so much. Really? Where? Because although on the surface it looks like things have changed, but when you go down deep and start looking really at the stuff, no, we haven't changed at all. We're still just as barbaric as ever. There was corruption. There was bribery. There was all these horrible things going on behind the scenes in the Roman Senate and in the Roman politics. And all of that basically shit on the peasants and made sure the nobility can get what they want. So the nobility lived in paradise where the peasants lived in shit. Fast forward 2,000 freaking years have gone by. And guess what? We still have corrupt politicians that are bought out, who are still catering to super rich people. And guess who gets the shit? The peasants, the workers, the commoners. 2,000 years have gone by, and we're still doing the same shit. Explain to me how we are advanced. Please, tell me how we are somehow better now. Because like I said before, I don't see it. Anything that you build, any structure that you create, can only be as good as the foundation that it sits on. The foundation that it rests on. And humanity, the foundation of humanity is a bunch of savage, barbaric apes. That's us. We haven't got past that. Now, if we were a truly advanced society, we would take note of that, realize that we are barbaric apes, and modify our civilization to be like, okay, well, we have a tendency to be, we have these tendencies. We have a tendency to be selfish, savage, tribal. We have all this. This is innate in us. Now, how can we build a society that brings out the best in us? That brings out the best quality in humans instead of the worst in humans. Some people I've had this happen in the comment section a couple of times. Bitch and moan every time I start talking about how stupid capitalism is. And then we have a lot of capitalist apologists that get on there. No, capitalism really isn't that bad. You know, it's not that bad, really. It's not real capitalism. If only we could do real capitalism, it'd be okay. Like, no. No, it doesn't. Like any capitalism, I don't care. You can say crony capitalism, you can say whatever. It does not matter. It's a system that at its foundation means that for someone else to have something, someone else must do without. It's a game. It's a Monopoly game. And you know how bloodthirsty Monopoly games can get. If you've ever played Monopoly with a couple of friends, you know how bloodthirsty it can get. Any system based on exploiting other human beings for your own profit is doomed to be a nightmarish dystopia every single time. We live in a system that rewards those kinds of things. We live in a system that actually rewards people for being psychopathic and not caring and unempathetic to other people. Just don't give a shit about anyone else. Walk all over them, whatever you got to do to survive. Whatever you got to do to get yours, and screw everyone else. And people like that are actually rewarded. Our system brings out the worst in humans. So yeah, if we had this built-in bad foundation of being just a bunch of dumb monkeys, if we have that built in us, instead of building a society that actually moves us away from that, we built a society that does the complete backward, the complete opposite. We made a society that brings out the worst in us. So the humans that are living today are even more bloodthirsty, even more worse, who are much more barbaric and more savage and more self-centered and more egotistical and more narcissistic, all of that, than they have ever been throughout human history. We made a system that makes us worse. We made a system that brings out the worst in us, not the best in us. I do believe that if we were to create a system that actually brought out the best in humanity, then, and we were to acknowledge the fact that there are some intrinsic problems there, the built-in monkey brain, mammalian monkey ape brain bullshit that we have inside of all of us, if we were to acknowledge that and try to move past that, then yeah, we might actually move in a better direction. But we're not even anywhere close to it right now. We're not even in the neighborhood right now of trying to be better. It seems like we are just flat, pedal to the metal, like flat foot all the way to the ground, pedal to the metal, just steamrolling right to destruction. And, you know, that's it. There's the answer to the dilemma of duality that humans have in them. Why is it that we are technologically advanced, but yet we still do dumb, stupid shit? One, we live in a system that perpetuates it. And two, we just have not, well, the system big thing is the major point. The fact that the world around us actually pushes us into behaving more and more ruthlessly. And the other factor is that we don't even try to acknowledge that we are just animals, that we are just apes. And because of that, we have to take into account some built-in inclinations that might not necessarily be good for civilization. And it's not bad. We can actually get over that. We can actually work through that, because humans weren't always this bad. People think, and some people have said before, like, I totally get that you can easily become a misanthrope, and I am sometimes. I have my days. But about humans, but the humans you see today, the people running around now, are not actually behaving in the way that we are built in intrinsically are supposed to behave. Yes, humans are still bloodthirsty, savage, scheming little monkey monsters. We have that in us, but we are not as bad as what the world is right now. This world is artificially somehow made humans worse. It takes all the worst qualities in humans and amplifies it to make it even worse than it actually is. So we are even more ruthless, even more bloodthirsty, even more selfish than we have ever been. Because the system perpetuates that. So what do you do when you're faced with that? Where do you go from there? Well, the sad conclusion is that this whole thing is just going to play itself out. This little blip in human history where we have access to this high levels of technology is just going to play itself out. There is not going to be a happy ending to this story. Don't even worry about it. Don't even look forward to it. Don't go, oh, we'll just come around one day. No. No, we're not. Unfortunately, we are not. Every single thing, all the information seems to be moving in one direction, that we are just, it's going to play itself out. It's going to play itself out, and we are doomed. In a sense that we're probably going to end up in a future where we lose all of our advanced technology and we'll be back into some sort of, I don't know, some sort of weird futuristic, not really futuristic because we'll lose a crap ton of our technology. I mean, we either can go the cyberpunk dystopia way, where the whole world is run by corporations and there's a lot of technology and they've completely gotten rid of the whole, any sort of illusion of democracy or any sort of illusion of, you know, people have a choice, and just said, screw that, you're just going to do what we tell you to because we're corporations and we run everything and your whole lives are ours. We're either going to go that direction, or if we have some sort of worldwide war that could easily break out, and there might be another reason because of that war thing that I'll get to that later. It's something called the resource wars, which we haven't even started yet. And that's just beginning to happen. But we'll have that. We already have mass migrations of people because of climate change. So, you know, I'm pretty sure an influx of millions of people, hundreds of millions of people into new areas that they didn't live before, while those areas are already occupied by their own people. I'm sure that won't lead to anything bad. Surely that's not going to lead to anything bad. I'm sure they'll just work it out just fine. I'm sure they'll just be fine. Everything, you know, they'll sit down and they'll just work it out peacefully. I'm sure that'll be okay. I'm sure they'll be willing to share all of their resources. I'm sure that'll work out just fine. So we're moving in that direction. We're either going to go in a cyberpunk kind of dystopic nightmare corporation ruled world, or we're just going to have a full-blown war and we're going to be knocked back until the 17th century. Probably not even that, probably farther back than that. And all this technology that we have right now is just temporary. And we're just enjoying it while we got it because we won't have it in the future. So, I don't know. The answer to the duality problem is that we would need a system that understands that we still have these primitive inclinations and accommodates for that. But we have a system that just, instead of accommodates and helps us be better people, it makes us be more, it brings out, like I said before, it brings out the worst in us. So if you have a system that brings out the worst in humanity at a crucial time when we need to start moving towards trying to be better because we have technology now that is incredibly dangerous, where is that going to go? It's like my friend said, we're a bunch of monkeys with nuclear weapons. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't trust a room full of chimpanzees with nuclear weapons. I wouldn't trust them. I don't think they're capable of dealing with the responsibility of that. And our species is basically just a bunch of big hairless apes with technology that is so powerful that they're not mentally able to deal with the responsibility of it, especially without recognizing some deep core fundamental things about the human species that they just haven't accepted yet. That yes, we are just animals and we are influenced by our environment. And we need to take that into account when we're building a system. But they don't even bother with it. Because somehow we're God's special little creatures, made in his image, so surely none of these bad things will happen to us. Yeah. In closing, there is no way you can take a species of 8 billion humans and somehow get them to come together in a cooperative way and work out the problems that we're dealing with as a species. The problems that affect us all. We cannot get them to come together collectively to do this because you have too many countries, too many people. I mean, 8 billion people. How the hell are you going to get 8 billion people to agree about anything? You can't even get one country, one small country, to agree about anything. I mean, America has what? I don't know, 350-ish million people? And that's just the United States, not the whole North America. That's more. But just the United States part, around 300 and something million people. And yet we're one of the most divided countries. Everyone is against each other. Everyone's fighting. You're either this way or you're that way, or they can't get along. And that's just 300 and something million people. How are you going to get 8 billion people to get along and work together collectively in order to solve the world's problems to advance the human species to where we have something of a decent future? You can't. It's not doable. You can't get them to go on. Humanity would have to be, essentially all of the human species would have to roughly be on the same page. Like, we'd have to look at the world in roughly the same way. We'd have to be on the same page. Humans, they're not even reading out of the same damn book, let alone being on the same page. They're not even reading from the same book. So how in the hell are you going to get them to even, work together? So yeah, there's only one way this is going to end, and it ain't going to be nice. It's not going to be a good ending. Sorry. There's just no nice ending to this story. Isn't it nice how I always leave my videos with a warm, comfortable, positive outlook towards the human species? Actually, there's no way to do that. You can't talk about the realities of the world and the things that we're going through and be positive about it. You can't be, because things are incredibly dark. And if you go into the depths of it, and the greater sense, if you look at everything in a whole picture, it's H.P. Lovecraft levels of dark. If you really want to dig deeper into it, it's incredible. So there is no way to be nice. And unfortunately, humanity seems to be steamrolling towards the bad ending. Like, I don't see a good ending that we're kind of veering towards. I wish I could look at it from a positive angle, or at least turn some of the darkness to be like, you know what, but if we do this and we do this and we do this, it'll be okay. But as I said before, technically humans are an incredibly clever species. And I do believe that if we were to collectively, that word is important, work together, you could create a planet that's worth living on. You actually could do it. We have the technology right now to make life better for everyone on this planet. It's doable technologically. It's just not doable socially. Humans are still too primitive in their brains and are still driven by these primitive, selfish, I'm looking out for me, fuck you kind of attitudes. And that's keeping us from making any progress. But I mean, if you were to just put this in a computer, a problem, a dilemma to solve, yeah, it's no problem. We could deal with this. We could feed, house, clothe, and take care of everyone on the planet, even all 8 billion of them. Ridiculously big number, but yes, we could still do it. Yeah, of course, there would have to be some sort of limitation. You couldn't just let this shit keep going. There's going to have to be some sort of population thing, They're going to be, someone has to take into account humans can't just keep expanding indefinitely on a planet that's on a planet that isn't getting bigger. Okay, Earth isn't growing new continents. It's pretty much stationary. It's stagnant. It's not getting bigger. So you can't have a population of people who need shit continuously, constantly advancing. So there would have to be some sort of things in place, some sort of systems in place to keep humans from going overboard. But again, that would mean everyone would have to come together and work together and cooperate on the same level, which I don't see humans ever doing. So it seems to be we're going to have the disastrous, horrible, nightmarish, apocalyptic future that everyone doesn't want, but we seem to be steamrolling right towards regardless. Anyway, thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you next time. Bye.